Hey folks, pull up a chair because I'm about to tell you the story that turned our sleepy little Maple Grove neighborhood into the talk of the county for months. You know the kind of place: perfect lawns, white picket fences, kids riding bikes without a care. HOA rules keep everything harmonious, they say. But underneath that polished surface, pure control freak energy dressed up as community spirit. And right at the center of it all was Ethan Reed, our quiet neighbor who just wanted peace after losing his wife 2 years back. Ethan had been a tech guy in the city, crunching code until the stress nearly broke him. Then he bought this 5-acre slice just outside the HOA boundary, 50 feet, to be exact, and turned it into a small hobby farm with a dozen pigs he treated like therapy animals. Those pigs had names: Rosie, Bacon, yeah, dark humor, and the rest. After his wife's passing, feeding them, cleaning the barn, and listening to their snorts became his way of breathing again. The barn itself was his sanctuary: old red wood, hay bales stacked neat, tools hung just so. From the road you could see it, but it was private. Or at least it should have been. Enter Vanessa Thompson, though everyone called her Karen behind her back. Blonde curls always perfect, clipboard glued to her manicured hand, president of the Maple Grove HOA for 6 years running. She moved here swearing she wanted authentic country vibes, but the second a real blade of grass dared to grow longer than 2 inches, she lost her mind. Karen's house was the showpiece: fairy lights year-round, seasonal wreaths changed weekly, and a driveway that looked like a magazine spread. She'd patrol the neighborhood in her white SUV like a sheriff, writing up violations for anything that didn't match her vision. The first crack in the piece came on a crisp Thursday morning. Ethan was hauling feed sacks when Karen's heels clicked down his gravel driveway. She wore those platform sandals that screamed, "I don't belong on a farm," and waved her clipboard like a royal decree. "Ethan, darling," she started, "all fake sugar. I need your barn this Saturday. My daughter's getting engaged, and we're doing the announcement shoot. Rustic backdrop, you know? The pigs will have to go somewhere else for a few hours. We'll bring props. Think Instagram gold." Ethan set the sack down slow, wiped his hands on his jeans, and just stared. "Vanessa, that barn's mine. Not for rent, not shared, and definitely not a studio. I'm not even in your HOA. Her smile didn't flicker, but her eye twitched. Just a tiny betrayal. "Oh, sweetie, Section 4.7 of our community aesthetic guidelines lets me request use of structures within visual range for approved events. It's for cohesion." She actually believed it. Ethan laughed once, short and dry. "Visual range? Lady, my property line is 50 feet outside your kingdom. Take your cohesion somewhere else." She left in a huff, but that wasn't the end. 2 days later, his mailbox overflowed with glossy flyers. His own barn photoshopped with soft filters, pink curtains draped in the rafters, and big cursive lettering: "Rustic Royalty Engagement Shoot. Save the date." Karen had snapped photos from the road and blasted them to every neighbor. When he called her, her voice dripped stevia. "Exposure, Ethan. I'm putting you on the map. We've already rented the outfits and booked the photographer. Don't be difficult." Neighbors started whispering. Mrs. Patel from across the street dropped by with cookies and a worried face. "She's telling everyone your place is a public venue now." "I don't like it, Ethan. She did the same thing to my rose bushes last year." He thanked her, kept calm on the outside, but inside the old tech brain started whirring. That night he installed 4 new cloud-connected cameras: high-def, night vision, motion alerts. Just in case. The small stuff piled up fast. Karen's husband started casually parking his truck at the edge of Ethan's field to admire the view. HOA emails arrived claiming his pigs were visually disruptive and suggesting he relocate livestock for neighborhood harmony. One morning, he found his gate unlocked. Someone had jimmied it. Nothing stolen yet, but the message was clear: "We're watching." Ethan didn't yell. He just smiled at the camera feed, saved every clip, and fed the pigs extra apples. He was collecting receipts like a man building a case. By Friday night, the tension hummed in the air like cicadas. Ethan sat on his porch, coffee in hand, watching fireflies while Karen's SUV cruised past slow, twice. He knew something was coming. The whole neighborhood could feel it. Little did Karen know, the guy she'd picked to bully had spent years debugging systems that never broke. He was patient. He was ready. And those pigs? They were about to become the stars of the show. You could almost hear the neighborhood holding its breath. Sunrise the next morning painted the barn gold, but the peace didn't last 2 minutes. Ethan's phone buzzed, motion alert. He pulled up the feed and watched 3 guys in black polos creep across his yard carrying lights, extension cords, and what looked like a smoke machine. They didn't knock. They just started rearranging his tools, unlatching the pig pen like it was their set. One even muttered, "Karen said rustic ambience. Pigs stay for authenticity." Ethan's blood boiled, but he didn't storm out. He waited. At 6:45 a.m., Karen rolled up in her luxury SUV like she owned the county, crew trailing with camera gear, fake hay bales, and her daughter in a satin gown looking miserable. Karen waved dramatically at the barn. "We're almost ready. Just needed that country charm." Ethan stepped outside calm as morning dew. "How'd you get in, Vanessa?" She tossed her curls. "Prearranged access, darling. Community spirit." Translation: broke in. He didn't argue. Instead, he strolled to the back, quietly slid the gate wide, and whistled once. 12 curious, well-fed pigs trotted straight into the barn like they'd been invited to a party. Chaos hit like glitter confetti in a tornado. One pig went snout first into the makeup kit. Another knocked a ring light into the hay. Karen's daughter squealed as 2 pigs nudged her toward a pile of straw. The smoke machine hissed wildly when Rosie decided it was lunch. Karen climbed a hay bale like it was a life raft, screaming, "Do something. This is ruining the lighting." Ethan leaned against the doorframe, sipping fresh coffee. "You want it rustic." Pigs are pretty rustic. Black humor at its finest. The crew scrambled, heels sinking in mud. Someone slipped and face-planted in what definitely wasn't glitter. Karen pointed at Ethan, face purple. "You'll pay for this. I'll get the board to condemn this eyesore." "We'll take it." He just smiled wider. "Smile big, Vanessa. You're live streaming to the county right now." What she didn't know was every second of her glitter invasion had been broadcasting to a private link. 300 views already, including his cousin Darcy, a bulldog real estate lawyer who hated HOAs with religious fervor. Karen froze mid-rant. For the first time, she looked scared. Less than an hour later, the HOA email hit. Urgent violation, community disruption. They claimed his unsupervised livestock endangered a public event space. Public? Ethan typed back 2 words, "Prove it." By noon, Karen had set up a folding table at the edge of his driveway, like a suburban war room. She sat flanked by 2 nervous board members, passing out laminated packets full of made-up terms like photogenic right-of-use clause. A few neighbors wandered over out of curiosity. Karen launched into her speech about elevating property values through visual unity, waving at Ethan's barn like it was Versailles. One board guy muttered, "Wait, do we actually have jurisdiction?" Karen snapped, "Of course, visual perimeter." Ethan hit play on his Bluetooth speaker. The whole yard filled with last night's audio. Karen's voice crystal clear saying, "Just sneak in, they'll never know." The board members closed their packets slowly. One whispered, "This looks bad, Vanessa." She pivoted hard, promising barn yoga and farm-to-table galas hosted right here. Neighbors rolled their eyes. Nobody liked her. Ethan stood on his porch, donut in hand, watching her empire crack. But Karen wasn't done. That evening, another letter arrived, from animal control. Suspected livestock abuse. Next morning, the county truck pulled in. The inspector took one look at the clean pens, fresh straw, classical music playlist, and sprinkler system and laughed. "This is better than most people's backyards." He passed Ethan with flying colors and handed Karen a $300 fine for trespassing and disrupting animals. She stood on her lawn shrieking, "He weaponized pigs." A kid biking by yelled back, "Someone awesome, apparently." Ethan thought the storm might pass. He was wrong. Karen's next move was straight delusion. She sent a petition to the county historical office claiming his 2017 barn was a heritage structure under community management. The photos she attached had obvious Photoshop. One even showed a Tesla logo on the door. Ethan called the zoning office. The rep answered laughing. "Not only is it not heritage, we have your original permits. Whoever forged this is now under investigation for document fraud." Karen's desperation was blooming like poison ivy. And Ethan? He was still collecting. Every email, every fake letter, every scream, saved. The neighborhood watched in stunned silence. The quiet farmer wasn't quiet anymore. He was a storm-gathering force. The twist hit like a hay bale to the face. 2 days after the heritage petition tanked, Ethan got a knock at the back door. It was old Mr. Hargrove, the retired accountant who'd quit the HOA board last year. He looked nervous, clutching a flash drive. Saw what she's doing to you. Figured you should know. She's been doing it to all of us. What Hargrove spilled changed everything. Karen hadn't just targeted Ethan. She'd used HOA funds, real dues money, for her personal influencer shoots. The community cohesion events she bragged about, paid for by everyone else while she pocketed sponsorships. The fake lease she tried to force on Ethan's barn, she'd forged his signature using a scanned permit she'd swiped from county records. And the worst part, she'd done the same thing to Mrs. Patel's pool last summer, then buried the complaints. Ethan plugged in the drive. Bank statements, emails, even screenshots of Karen bragging in a private group chat about monetizing the neighborhood aesthetic. Darcy, his lawyer cousin, nearly dropped her phone when he sent it over. This isn't just civil anymore, Ethan. This is embezzlement. We're talking criminal. He didn't run to the police yet. He waited. Let Karen keep digging her glittery grave. Meanwhile, she doubled down. That same afternoon, her new Instagram story dropped. Barn to Bridal, a socialite's rural vision. Tickets for sale, $75 a head for the exclusive gala on his property. VIP packages included photo ops with real farm animals. She'd used HOA email to promote it. Ethan watched the views climb and just locked his gates tighter. The pigs got extra treats. Karen showed up again with a creative consultant in khakis. She pointed at Ethan's tractor like it was offensive. That needs to move, too industrial. The consultant took one look at the private property signs, heard Ethan say, "Ma'am, you're describing things that belong to me," and backed away fast. "I don't do lawsuits." He drove off without shaking her hand. That night, Darcy called. She's selling tickets on land she doesn't own. Fraud on top of everything else. Keep the cameras hot. We're building a nuclear case. Ethan set up extra motion lights timed to the pig feeding schedule. Any sudden guests would trigger lights, cameras, and very curious animals. The neighborhood started shifting. Mrs. Patel brought over a casserole and whispered, "Half the block is done with her. We saw the live feed from your barn chaos. You're not alone." Even the HOA's new vice president, Ellie, a no-nonsense mom of 3, quietly texted Ethan, "Board's fracturing. Hang tight." Karen's empire of control was cracking from the inside, and the crack was spreading fast. Ethan still looked calm on the porch each evening, but inside the anger had turned cold and sharp. Every time Karen drove past, he remembered his wife's last words, "Don't let them take your peace." He wasn't letting anyone take it. The pigs snorted happily in the background like they knew the score. And Karen? She was about to learn that when you weaponize an entire neighborhood's dues for your ego, the pigs don't just bite back, they bring receipts. The week before the so-called barn to bridal gala felt like the calm before glitter Armageddon. Karen hadn't canceled despite the citation and fraud investigation. Her event page stayed live, countdown ticking, RSVP lists swelling with sock puppet accounts and desperate yoga moms lured by free cheese boards. Ethan didn't try to stop the ticket sales. He wanted her to show up. Everything was wired. First guests arrived in Range Rovers and rented golf carts, following Karen's emailed directions straight through his front gate. The new signs he'd nailed up read, "Private property, event in progress. Enter at your own risk," in friendly script. Nobody read the fine print. Or the pigs. Ethan had let the herd out early after a breakfast of apples and fermented mash. 12 pink landmines roamed the field, ears perked, ready. Karen arrived late in a sequin blazer and flowing gown that looked like curtains from a craft store explosion. She carried fake roses and a megaphone. Immersive realism. Everyone, she chirped as a pig gently nudged a kid into a puddle. The mother screamed. Karen called it authentic country charm. She gathered her 30 actual guests near the barn and launched into a monologue about urban stress to rural rebirth. Hands outstretched, voice misty. That's when Ethan hit the remote. A giant hay bale with a red bow rolled out and stopped at her feet. Laminated sign on top. "Congratulations, you're standing in the splash zone." Before she could read it, The fermented mash scent hit the pigs. They charged like pink thunder. Guests scattered. High heels flew. Cheese boards hit the dirt. Karen's gown snagged on her own decorative fence, and she toppled backward into a bucket of paint she'd left for her art installation. Her assistant tried to help and got face-planted by a pig who thought the handbag was lunch. It was beautiful. Phones everywhere, guests filming, Karen's crew filming, and 3 local news reporters Ethan had quietly invited catching every second live. Karen finally scrambled up, mud and paint streaking her war paint makeup. "You ruined my brand launch," she shrieked at Ethan. He shrugged. "Looks like you launched something straight into the pigsty." The reporter raised an eyebrow. "Is that why you charged $75 a ticket on land you don't own?" Karen froze. No clipboard. No megaphone. Just mud, pigs, and the cold realization her reputation was streaming to thousands in real time. Her daughter took one look and turned around muttering, "Never asking for this life again." Guests fled, some laughing, some furious, all filming. Ellie from the HOA pulled up with a folder. "Vanessa, you violated 9 regulations. Your expedited relocation request is denied. Enjoy your extended stay." Karen looked ready to faint. But the night wasn't over. Ethan hosed down the mess with help from the local 4-H kids who'd shown up for the show. They roasted marshmallows over a bonfire, projected the footage on the barn wall, and laughed until their sides hurt. For the first time in weeks, the barn felt like home again, filled with real joy instead of sequence. Karen disappeared for days. Rumors flew. She tried to rebrand with an apology video in a rented sunflower field, complete with scripted tears and a CGI pig. Comments tore her apart. Her follower count tanked. Sponsors ghosted. Ethan used the attention for good, partnered with 4-H and the animal shelter for a real event. Pigs, pies, and peace. Families came, kids petted the pigs, bluegrass played. Ellie even helped serve cider and announced the board had amended the charter so no future Karen could pull this stunt. The neighborhood finally exhaled. But Ethan knew the final chapter was still coming. The package from Karen's lawyer arrived 2 weeks later. A lawsuit claiming emotional distress, brand defamation, and unauthorized pig deployment. Ethan laughed so hard he nearly dropped his coffee. He photographed it and sent it straight to Darcy. Her reply was instant. "Perfect. Now we counter." The footage, forged documents, embezzlement evidence, and trespass videos gave them everything. Darcy filed motions to dismiss and countersue for defamation and fraud. Karen's lawyer withdrew the claim in 3 days flat. It was over. Months rolled by. The internet moved on to the next scandal, but Maple Grove never forgot. Karen quietly sold her house and moved 2 towns over. Her social media went dark. Ethan built a second, smaller barn equipped with a cozy viewing room he called Pig Flicks. The 4-H kids loved it, popcorn and all. He hung Darcy's framed cease and desist letter next to his grandfather's old shovel. A trophy. One quiet evening, Ethan sat on the barn steps with Rosie curled beside him, stars sharp overhead. No cameras. No shouting. Just peace he'd earned back the hard way. The pigs had reminded everyone. If you charge uninvited into someone else's life, you'd better be ready for the mud. And the lesson? Simple. In a world full of clipboards and control freaks, sometimes the best revenge is letting the pigs do what pigs do best, while you stand your ground, cameras rolling, and wait for justice to roll in like sunrise over a clean barn. Maple Grove is quiet again. But every time a new neighbor asks about the glitter still stuck in the rafters, we just smile and say, "Ask Karen." She never did get that rustic chic dream. But the rest of us? We got our piece back, and one hell of a story.